So this week, as a part of, we are getting back to normal. We're pushing it. So what we're going to do is, we started this past year with, 2020 and focusing on you, focusing on the team, our actions, our resources, our efficiencies, and creating simplicity. And a part of our focus this year is learning from each other and learning things that we don't really necessarily know about individuals. So I asked Mark Rubican. He was originally supposed to have his podcast at the beginning of March, but because of the pandemic, we put that all on hold. So we are getting back to normal, and we are going to start these on a weekly basis again. So, Mark, you are on the line, right?
I am here. Can you hear me?
I am, yes. Yeah, we can definitely hear you. So I appreciate you taking the time. Sorry that it's taken so long, but I'm glad to get our HDS Focus podcast back and moving forward, so we can learn about some of what makes you tick in your career and some of the things that you do to find success. So with that being said, tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe some things that people don't really know about you.
Sure, yeah. And, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I really enjoyed the previous podcast and just learning insights from other people. So hopefully something can be learned today through this. But, I'm 43 years old. Been in the industry for a very long time, 20 years at the end of the year. Also married to the love of my life. Later this month, next Wednesday, we will celebrate our 20th year of marriage. We have 5 beautiful kids ranging from 10 to 18. My oldest is a senior in high school. So she's going through some challenges of her own with things being delayed and canceled, but we're hoping to make the best of it. She'll be going off to Seton Hill, which is a small Catholic university in Southwest Pennsylvania next year to study early childhood education. I live in Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, and as a typical Pittsburgh Yinzer, I have never resided anywhere else in my life except for Bethel Park. Even when I went to Duquesne for college, I commuted. So yeah, that's a little bit about my personal life.
That's great. So, so what are some of the, who's influenced you in your life and during that time when you were growing up?
Yeah, I've had a lot of influencers in my life, but the one that probably sticks out most to me is my maternal grandfather. He gave me the love of sports. I was one of 3 boys. Neither of my brothers nor my dad really enjoyed sports that much, and I love them, and it's probably because of my maternal grandfather. He also introduced me to the business world. He was an entrepreneur. He was also very much into the stock market, so I sort of started my interest in the stock market through him. And just he was just a fun-loving guy who loved God. He cared for his family and as well as others. I just remember one saying, it's kind of silly, but one thing he'd always would tell us, and it was pretty sound advice. He said, never eat dead food. And the thinking behind that was, if the food was living at one time, like an animal or a plant, then you should probably eat it. But if it was fake or man-made, then you probably should not eat it. So I sort of use that just to try to side with nature over man in many instances, and just sort of let nature take its course. Oftentimes, rather than man interfering with it, that's the best option. So he's probably the most influential person in my life growing up.
What great advice too. I mean, especially in today's world with all the processed foods and all the junk that's out there that causes so much so many health issues that, you know, that is great. That is an amazing, great advice. So that's all. I wrote that one down, so I'm going to use that one too. What makes you tick, Mark? I know you love sports. I mean, we have a lot of conversations in the office with, you know, about sports, and I know you play deck hockey. But I know there's other things in your life, you know, with your family and that are extremely important to you. But what makes you tick?
Sure. You know, I guess I would boil it down to the fact that, you know, I'm a Christian, and that really defines me. And my desire is to love God most and love what He wants us to do, and what He wants me to do is to love others. So I really try to concentrate on that. I fail often, but that is my goal. That is my passion. That's what makes me tick. I'm also a husband, you know, and my wife I consider to be my best friend, and so fortunate. She definitely married down to me, but also I'm a father, and I try to be a good example for my kids. Again, not always succeeding, but I think they know that I love them and that I would do anything for them and that I want the best for them. And I guess I believe that setting priorities and then living based on them is vital, whatever that is. You know, that's what it is for me. My top priority, you know, is God and family. I think you got to figure out what your priorities are, and live based on them. It's not always easy, but I feel it's always worth it. So I guess that's sort of what makes me tick.
Great. So let's jump forward, or I guess back into your history and your career. I was fortunate enough, when we worked for a previous company, I got to meet you. I think you were probably only 21 or 22 years old when I first met you.
24.
24. Okay. Well,
yeah,
that's still pretty young. So, so we've shared some of those, you know, early career experiences. But what was your first job?
I always loved the work, and I think it's because I never received a weekly allowance from my parents unless I did something for it. So my first job was serving refreshments in a cart at a bingo hall when I was 14 years old. Around that same time, I also delivered a weekly community newspaper door to door. And then after that, sort of like my real first job, and similar to your history, was I was in the grocery business, helping to manage a grocery store. And that lasted through high school and part of college. I studied sports business, and just like some previous podcasters have really succeeded in the sports business, that wasn't so much me. I was just a little intern for the Penguins. Super exciting for me. I learned a lot, and I got to go to all the Penguin games, home games, for free.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I can't wait till the Penguins start playing again, hopefully here in the next couple of weeks. So what led you to the promotional product industry?
Sure. As I mentioned, I went to Duquesne University, and they were wonderful in their career services, and they found me a job in sales right out of college. But within 9 months, they were shut down and out of business, probably because I was selling for them. But I actually went back to Duquesne, and they were very open about helping me find another job. And they got me hooked up with one of the bigger Pittsburgh area promotional products distributors in the industry at that time. So I was super excited about that opportunity, and that's sort of how I got started in the business.
Yeah, and I know, you know, we both worked at that previous distributor before. What were some of in your early career, what were some of the positive takeaways that you achieved or accomplished during that particular time?
Yeah, I mean, I made some great friends. You know, you and another gentleman that's probably listening to this. You know, I kind of good close friends that I made through um, that experience. But also, I learned how to be a professional. I learned how to be respectful of people's time. I learned how to organize my day and also the basics of this industry. Um, I also learned the value of a life work balance. Um, I personally want to be a successful husband and dad even more than I want to be a successful salesperson. And that experience with that company really helped me to realize that goal.
Excellent. So when you did get into the sales side in the promotional product industry, what was the first item that you sold?
Ah, man, I have a horrible memory. I can't remember the last item I sold on Friday. I would say, if I had to guess, that it was probably insurance card holders, probably in order of 100 for 75 cents a piece.
Way back when it was they were only 75 cents. I'm sure they cost a lot more, maybe double now today's world. So, in your career, what would you attribute to a lot of the successes that you've experienced in your career?
Yeah, I would say it's the people I've been around. I've had some really great mentors and tremendous supporters, at work and at home. But like our fearless leader Howard always says, it's the people you surround yourself with that make you successful. So I would attribute a lot of my successes to the people that are around me.
That's awesome. So what about some of the challenges you've experienced?
Yeah. Man, probably not good for a salesperson to admit this, but I hate to be rejected. I hate it. I hate to be told no. I tend to take it personal. Maybe it's because I'm passionate about it. Maybe I just don't have the right focus, but it was a very difficult thing to hear. So, shutting myself in a conference room so my cube mates couldn't hear me disgruntled and disappointed after every no I would hear. It was worth it because, you just, it is a numbers game. I think that adage has changed from when I was making cold calls 20 years ago, but it was a valuable experience for me. But that was probably my biggest challenge that I had to overcome. I just, I really wanted to be in front of people face to face to talk to them, and I always valued those interactions. So the whole fear of rejection and cold calls over the phone was a big hurdle.
Yeah, and I know, just with your skill set and everything, I mean, you are extremely, very, very good in front of people, that face-to-face interaction. So, and I would say that that's not uncommon, maybe across our company or even across just about everybody in sales is the fear of rejection and getting through that. That's a very common thing, I'd say. So let's jump into. Oh, go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say it's definitely a unique attribute that you as a sales manager probably look for in hiring salespeople, or people like Howard, who they hear a no and it just motivates them more. I don't think most people are like that.
Yeah, it's definitely a trait that is not very common. I'd say most of the people that I've ever talked to and interviewed would say the same thing. Maybe not on the first interview, but when you learn about them along the way, they hate that rejection, and making cold calls is one of those biggest challenges, especially when you hear no at least 98% of the time, or maybe even more. So let's jump ahead and dive down into some of your daily business activities. How do you organize your day?
You probably want to ask me that question. Not very well, to be honest. There's that perfect day and that Bacillus promotes, and I've tried to do that, and I've just found that it doesn't work for me. I think that it can work for most people, but I've just found personally it hasn't worked for me. And I could be wrong with that. Maybe I need to do that more. But I feel strongly in being quick to respond to customers. There's not a lot that differentiates us in this business, and that's one way that I believe has worked for me. So I always have my email up as well as V2. Some organizational things I try to do on a weekly basis, and or my team to do is trying to get through all of our follow-up calls in a week. Once we've made a relationship with a customer, I really try not to bug them more than once a week. Whenever I'm trying to get new customers and when I'm prospecting, I'm a little bit more making those attempts a little bit more frequently. But once a week, so try to get all those follow-ups in once a week. Try to check on all my pending orders that we have on the dashboard, as well as any AR that's past 60 days, and try to make sure that Martin is happy with us getting paid. There's a couple different ways that I try to organize my day.
I think that's great, and I think if people feel like they could manage and organize their day without any flaws, I think that I think they're lying to themselves. So I think that's a very common response. So you've been, year after year, even in some challenging years, you've been able to overcome those challenges and grow your sales. And most of those years by double-digit numbers year after year. How are you able to do that? Like, what are you doing to get to that level?
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned before, I have great mentors and support. The people at HDS are fantastic, and most of it goes, to my inside sales team. They're just absolutely tremendous. I would not be probably on this podcast talking to you without them. They make me look way better than I ever could myself. Most of my successes can be attributed to them. I also value personal relationship. Everyone hears that people buy from people they like, and I believe that. But even more so, I believe people buy from people that have proven that they care, and if I can get that opportunity in front of the customer for them to know that I care about not just their business, but who they are, and adapt to their needs. I think looking over it, that's probably, part of the reason why I've been able to be successful year over year.
That's great, and I think that aligns so well with HDS's go-to-market, is building that relationship and the teamwork that's required in order to find success in our type of an environment. So, what do you believe HDS is, and it was kind of pat maybe HDS a little bit more on our backs. What do you think are HDS's biggest assets that every rep should be taking advantage of?
Yeah, I mean, it's a common theme throughout this podcast. It's people. HDS is people. No doubt about it. When there's a challenge, our entire team steps up and creates awesome solutions that I or my team could never think of ourselves. It's just huge. It allows us to shine because of it. But also HDS investing in a system like Bacillus was a major asset and also people in our company that give wise advice, business or personal, or even coming up with creative ideas, or just treating our customers with kindness. They all point to what great people work at HDS. So definitely it's people.
That's great. So when you talk to current or potential customers, what is the HDS differentiator that you usually highlight?
Yeah, I tell them that we want them to make an informed buying decision. One example of that is just my sample policy, that we will send them almost anything that they are considering, so that they can see it and touch it for themselves, rather than just trust an image on the screen. And especially in our industry, just some of the product. But I tell them the worst thing that can happen, as they get their order of 1,000 of whatever it is, and the quality is nowhere near what they expected. That's probably the worst thing that could happen. I want them to be aware of what they're getting before they or whomever they're buying it for gets it. I also mentioned our product showcase, that it's open to that's open to all of our customers. Besides people at HDS, this is probably the best tool that I have in my toolbox. A customer can ask for ideas, and you can give them several different ideas, a dozen or more, that you think may work. But when they come to the show, they're exposed to so many more possibilities that even they may never have thought of. So that's huge. I also try to highlight HDS's flexibility. HDS is willing to adapt to their needs and their wants. Some customers need a lot of attention, and some hardly any. I just remember one of my customers telling me that they will only contact me when they need something. They're not interested in me in following up with them, reaching out to them on a consistent basis. They want me to just wait for their phone call. And there's other customers who want ideas constantly, who need that attention. So I want to learn about each of my customers, so as not to waste time for either of us. I heard the saying, and I'd be happy to explain it more later, but and especially with the automation and integration of e-procurement systems that I've been dealing with recently, I think that this is even more pertinent. They say that sometimes, and remember, sometimes the best service is no service. So just something to think about.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. So, we've 2020 has been the year of challenges for everyone. I think in the world, business and personal lives. And where do you see the industry, the promotional product industry, going, and what its future holds for it right now?
Yeah, we are in crazy times in our industry and out. I see a lot of Fortune 500 companies wanting to integrate e-procurement with promo items. I think everything that's going on currently with COVID-19 will pass. I think masks are going to be in our lives forever and in our industry, and I think sanitizer is going to be popular. But when I look years down the road, I see Fortune 500 companies looking to make the purchasing of promotional products easier and more under control. So this whole e-procurement right now, these large companies do e-procurement, but they're with much larger purchases. Promotional products and print are not on their radar, and I think that it will become on their radar. So what HDS has been able to do with my largest customer, I think is what's going to be happening more and more in our industry. I also believe suppliers are going to get fed up with us distributors going direct to China. I really do. I think they're going to increase their presence going direct to our customers. It's something that's been around the industry a lot, but as a supplier, and if I, just to be honest, if I saw distributors cutting them out and going direct over to the manufacturers in other countries, why should they not cut us out and go direct to our customers? So I think, obviously I don't want that to happen, but I do think that's a real possibility. So maybe in 10 years, I could see a top 5 supplier with a bunch of multiple industry categories purchasing a top 5 distributor that has a large number of sales reps to cover the country. And at that time, I believe is when the relationships that we have formed will be tested.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a conversation that many people have been having, is the suppliers going direct to customers. So, and that's, I think, one of the advantages that HDS has, is because of all of our resources, we would be able to still be able to compete even with that as well too. So because of time and go ahead, Mark.
No, yeah, just having a relationship with Facilis puts us in a good spot if that were to ever come to fruition.
Yeah, no, I agree. So because of time, is there anything else that you wanted to add?
Sure. Just remember to be kind. Think of others more than yourself. Share the things that you enjoy with others. Be humble. Don't be afraid to say sorry. Because if you're anything like me, you'll make a lot of wrong decisions. So that's what I would end with.
Yeah, that. I think that is great advice as well. So does anybody have any questions for Mark as we wrap things up here? All right, well, we'll take that silence as they don't have any questions. I think you did an awesome job, Mark. You're an extremely valuable part of, a legacy member of HDS that's found a lot of success. And, one of the things that, I've noticed about you is you follow the system. And I think you learn from the system, and you're able to make adjustments along the way, and I think that's where a lot of the successes that you have come about. And I'm just super happy that you're a part of our team, and a very well respected person within our industry as well too. So I appreciate you taking the time today to share these some of these insights, and look forward to many more years of going through the obstacles of our industry together, and seeing how far we can get here in successes. So great job again, and again, I look forward to what tomorrow holds for all of us.
I appreciate it, Mark.